What up, everybody? It's your boy Ron. Welcome back to another episode of First and Faithful. Hope everybody had a awesome and safe 4th of July weekend. On today's episode, we're going to go over kind of just the news of the week for the 49ers. Stuff you may have missed, probably a lot of stuff you know. I'll kind of expand on it a little bit, give my thoughts. But before we get into that, as always, this part, thank you for stopping by. If you could do me a huge favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell icon, multiple videos throughout the week. If you have any comments or anything, definitely hit me in the comments below or get at me on Facebook, First and Faithful over there. Love interacting, but let's get right into it. News of the week for the 49ers. Let's start with some league news that affects the 49ers. But it is definitely league news. The NFL Players Association this week voted to play 0 preseason games. This is after the NFL dropped 2 of the games, so they went from 4 to 2 preseason games. They also announced that training camp should be starting July 28th. But like I said, they wanted to change it from 4 weeks to 2 weeks. But this week, the Players Association voted to have 0 preseason games. So it's just something to watch. Keep in mind, I'm not sure. There seems to be obviously the league and then the Players Association not on the same page right now regarding that issue. Obviously with the NBA coming back and MLB kind of being the test cases, if you will. We'll kind of see how that works. They're kind of the guinea pigs in all this. Depending on how that works out, may change the Players Association mind, may change the league's mind. You may go from keeping the 2 to 0 to maybe just 1. Anybody's guess, is as good as yours or mine. So just something to keep in mind. Now into more Niners-specific news. DJ Reed, cornerback, unfortunately suffered a torn pectoral muscle this week. Not a starter, but a pretty big rotational guy. Usually, mostly was in on nickel packages, kind of subbing in and out with Quan Williams. No official timetable was given, but 6 months is about the typical time frame for injury recovery on a torn pec. So, if we're talking July, August, September, October, November, December, odds are he's probably out for the season at best, maybe in time for a playoff run if they make it that far. So, obviously, Debo with his injury, Richie James with his injury, now DJ Reed, unfortunately, if you're a Niner fan, I know you feel like it kind of feels like the team just every offseason, every season just suffers it more than other teams, and that's, I'm sure, false, but it just always seems like there's always just these couple of injuries, and it sucks. Thankfully, it's not a starter, but still, you don't like seeing injuries. Period. Obviously, it weakens their depth chart every time you lose, even if it's a backup person. It obviously weakens that depth chart. So we'll see what the team does from there. In terms of free agents or maybe some other signings. Kind of go from there. Moving on to the Athletics, Matt Barrows reported that George Kittle could see a contract extension somewhere in the $13 million a year range, which would make him by far the highest paid per year tight end in the league. But the question at this point is that enough for Kittle? His agent has basically hinted that he wants to be paid wide receiver money. That would put him more in like the $16 million range. So we'll see. It's kind of I don't want to say a stalemate right now. Obviously, COVID has really, really messed up a lot of these contract negotiations. I've talked about before. Other people talked about it because there's not certainty with league revenue. Obviously, fans in the stands. Are there going to be less fans, et cetera, et cetera? It's just made the prediction on how the cap will expand these next couple of years really hard. The cap was expected to explode this next season or in these next couple of seasons. Now, is it going to be a flat cap? There's so many moving parts here. It's hard to do an extension. Some people have suggested maybe giving him a cut of the cap. Like if it rises, hey, it'll be a bump in your salary per year, um, commensurate with the salary cap going up. I don't know how you would do that. I'm not. I'm not going to pretend like I'm really good with the salary cap and how contracts, really work in the NFL or really in sports in general. So just something to also keep a lookout for. I mean, hopefully, I know you, me, every day I wake up and I hope I see a little alert. George Kittle signs extension. You know, 30-year extension with the Niners. Every morning, every time I get an alert that says something, report Niners. I'm hoping like please, be the report that Kittle is has signed his extension. So hopefully soon. 13 million is a lot. Niners hold a lot of the leverage here. Obviously, he's only making I think two point something this next season. If he holds out, he loses a year, accrued year or accrued season. So that puts him behind the 8 ball. So the Niners kind of hold that leverage in the sense that if he wants to get paid, this he may, I don't want to say be forced into this, but obviously that factors in. 13 million as opposed to 2 million. It's a huge difference there. You have to think, well, if he gets injured, he has to be thinking that. So if I had to guess, I'd say at the end of the day he signs the deal. Maybe it goes up to maybe 14 million, maybe a little bit more in the guarantees, maybe kind of offset some of that maybe. But I do expect him to finally just kind of, I don't want to say cave, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be worth it for him to play these next couple seasons that basically, 2 million this year. If they start franchising him, it'd be at tight end prices, which still wouldn't be as much as they're offering, according to report, offering what they're offering him per season right now in the extension. So something to definitely take, hopefully they get this done shortly. Speaking of the tight ends, David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns has asked for a trade. As always, and this is, again, I talked about with the Jamal Adams video I did, and you can watch that right there. But something I talked about, when you are a good team like the Niners, and there's something great to see. I think it is a sign of a good team like the Niners, and it's great to see as a fan that when there are pretty good free agents or teams that want out of their contracts and want to get away, your team is always mentioned as one of the top destinations. Like I said, with the Jamal Adams, Niners were listed. Njoku definitely is someone who could fit in with the Niners. Has been not necessarily linked like they've called the Cleveland, but definitely a team that people look at as a great destination. Obviously, you pair him with Kittle, it definitely brings to mind the Aaron Hernandez Gronk heyday with the Patriots and how deadly that combination was. Offensively, Njoku comes cheap. I think he's only 2 million this season and only 6 million next season because the Browns have already picked up his 5th-year option. So he would come cheap, comparatively speaking. Rumor is the Browns want a first-round pick. They're never going to get that. But obviously you shoot high and then kind of, obviously negotiate from there. It will be interesting to see if the Niners, at least I assume Lynch will at least make that first phone call just to see what's the price. What you guys legitimately asking? To pair those two together in 2 tight end sets, Njoku with Kittle, with Shanahan, it's not hard to imagine how deadly a combination that would be. So something to kind of keep, like I say, something to kind of keep an eye on. But obviously this, nothing has been said from the Niners side, but definitely something that would be, really cool to see those two on the field together. Matt Barrows of The Athletic also reported that there has been some contract extension talks with Raheem Mostert and also Kendrick Bourne. Obviously, 2 guys, fan favorites, in line for some long contracts. Bourne signed his tender this offseason. It's a 1-year deal. He becomes a free, I think, an unrestricted free agent, I believe, after this season. Mostert is in year 2. I think he signed a 3-year contract before last season. That contract's more of a pays him more as a special teamer because that's basically what he was really before this last season and his huge breakout. And then he, according to Jacina Anderson over at ESPN, he asked the Niners for a raise at some point this offseason. I'm not sure if it was before the contract talks or maybe, that's maybe what spurred the whole thing. But definitely asked for a raise. The case can be made. He's earned it. The question is going to be how much the Niners think that his success is him and how much they think is the system. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan, obviously Mike Shanahan have been known to basically turn any running back who works in their system into gold. Everybody remembers the Bronco days with, obviously, Portis, who's actually just a really good running back, but Portis, obviously, Anderson. There was, they had a string of running backs. I can't remember any of them off the top of my head, but there was 3 or 4 where it was just kind of plug and play. You just put a new guy in there, and they were just great. I mean, it was just like every season, just new guy. Every season. You saw it this season, last season with the Niners. It was breather for a couple games, and Coleman was really good, and then Mostert blew up. So the question is going to be, how much is the system? How much is this Mostert? I personally love Mostert. The dude he's a beast. But I'm also not going to be blind to think that it's all him and not the system. Maybe it's a perfect marriage. Maybe it's perfect player in the perfect system. It's hard to say. So it'll be interesting to see how much, where they go with that. He's definitely due a raise for sure. It's just going to be, like I said, a question of how much the Niners feel it's him, how much is the system, and on his side and his agent, I assume he has an agent, how much they feel it's him and how much is the system as well. So we'll, kind of see how that works from there. Let's see what else. Ronnie Lott, obviously a huge fan of Coach Shanahan, was on Sirius XM NFL Radio. Said, quote, Kyle's our version of Bill Walsh, unquote. Speaking about Shanahan and just how he's one of the most innovative guys in pro football when it comes to offense. We all know that. Even people who don't like the Niners or aren't necessarily fans of the team or fans. No, I mean the dude is an offensive genius, clock management and big game performances. All that aside, no one's going to disagree that this dude is if not the top offensive mind in the league, top 2. I think it's him. Him and Andy Reid are my top 2, and then kind of everybody else after that. Honestly, those are 2 guys I think could go anywhere, and their offenses are going to work. Like those are the guys. Andy Reid, I feel like you can send him anywhere, give him 3 seasons, he's going to turn that offense around from wherever it was. It's going to be a top 3 offense. Same with Shanahan. He's that guy you can just send him any team. Jacksonville, doesn't matter. 3 seasons, he's going to turn that into a top 3 offense, guaranteed. It's just the way those guys, I think they're just heads and tails above everybody else. So it is great to see some of the, the legends give props to Shanahan. You've seen it. I know Steve Young's a huge fan of Shanahan. Obviously worked with his father, Rice. A lot of the legends have given praise to Shanahan and Lynch and the job they've done turning this organization around. So it's just really nice to see that. But that's kind of the stories this week. Obviously, this offseason, there's not a ton of news right now per se. But there's a story that I missed that you think of. By all means, let me know in the comments. And otherwise, let me know what you guys think about David Njoku possibly coming to the team. Do you think that's something that Niners should pursue? Do you think Mostert and Bourne should be getting extensions? How much? Do you think $13 million for Kittle is just right, not enough? What you think that situation kind of entails? And any thoughts in general, just on the team this week, news, etc. I'll have more videos this week. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Aaron, and this is First and Faithful. Have a great one, guys.